Hey everybody, this is Brian with Bear Cards 34. Today I'm coming back with another edition of my Blast from the Past TTM. So this is a video where I go back and show TTMs or through the mail that I got from football players back in the early 90s. And so today I just wanted to start off with just giving a shout out to my buddy Mike. He has a channel, Cards in the Closet, that I will include a link to in this video. If you guys are interested, he has an eBay store, eBay account, and he sells a lot of really great cards, and he was able to help me out. So this is a note from him. He's helping me to complete my 1977 top set. And so these are some checklists that I did not have for the set, and so I'm very happy to be able to add these to the collection. So I've been keeping tabs on the set and what I need for that on a trading card database, and I'm at 80% now. I have 80% of the 1977 Topps set. So I'm getting close, and I'm looking forward to making a show and tell video of that when I am done. So thank you, Mike. Really appreciate the hookup for those cards there. All right, so for this first player, this is Jamie Williams of the San Francisco 49ers. So I wrote to a lot of 49ers, and some of them sent me cards back, some sent photos like this, and some didn't reply at all. So I always appreciated the players that returned autographs. So Jamie had a 12-year NFL career. He played from 1983 to 1994. He was a third-round pick back in '83 out of Nebraska by the Giants, but his rookie year was actually spent with the St. Louis Cardinals. He then went on to have 5 years with the Oilers. This is his 1985 Topps card, so if any of you have that set, you might be familiar with that card right there. And so, yeah, Jamie had written Best Wishes Brian, autographed that with his jersey number 81. He also spent 1994 with the LA Raiders, played in 160 games, had 181 catches, almost 2,000 yards and 11 touchdowns, and just a really good guy off the field as well. Did a lot of community service work, and 4 times he was the Man of the Year for the teams that he played for. So very happy to have that one. Then I also have his teammate, Brent Jones. Now, the auto is kind of faded in here, and that's actually how it came, even back in 91 or 92, whatever year I got that. So the image was already like that. But Brent was able to autograph that for me, and he was a great tight end with the 49ers. He spent 11 years with the team. He was actually a 5th-round draft pick by the Steelers back in 1986, but he had been involved in a crash. A drunk driver collided into he and his girlfriend, and so he started off on the practice squad. Never played a game for the Steelers that rookie season, and then he was released soon after. And then the 49ers were able to sign him and pick him up, and he went on to make 4 Pro Bowls. In 1992, he was a first-team All-Pro. He also had 2 second-team All-Pros, and he's a 3-time Super Bowl champ, and he was a winner. He played in 143 games, and he was a winner on 110 of those. He ended his career with over 400 catches, 5,200 yards, and 33 touchdowns. So great player, Brent Jones. Next up, we've got Gene Atkins. Now, you guys may be more familiar these days with Geno Atkins, which is his son. He was a former Pro Bowler with the Bengals, a defensive tackle. He made 8 Pro Bowls, Geno did. Gene Atkins had a 10-year career of his own. He was a 7th-round pick in '87 out of Florida A&M for the Saints. He made the All-Rookie team as a safety, and he spent the majority of his career with New Orleans, but his final 3 years were with the Dolphins. He ended his career with 25 interceptions, and what's kind of cool here, so he autographed Gene Atkins, 28, and he put a little smiley face right here, so you can see they're tackling Greg Bell. You got Vaughn Johnson right here, and Geno Atkins, so he kind of put a smiley face over over him right there. I don't know how well that picks up, but I'll kind of show that a little closer. So yeah, very happy to get that one as well. Next up, we've got former Eagles head coach Rich Kotite. He was a former tight end, spent his rookie year with the New York Giants. He's actually from Brooklyn, New York. And then he went on to the Steelers in '68, and then 4 years again with the Giants. He became a tight ends coach for the Saints in 1977, and then worked his way up to an offensive coordinator for the Eagles. But then he became the head coach of the Eagles after Buddy Ryan was fired. His first 2 years were really good. In 91, they had 10 wins. 92, they had 11 wins. But the next 2 years were not nearly as successful, and he was fired. He spent 2 years as a head coach with the Jets, but then stepped down afterwards. I've seen him in some interviews. He gives a good interview talking about some of the 90s and the 80s and his experience coaching. So very happy to have that Rich Kotite autograph. All right, next up we got one of my Bears. This is Dave Wannstedt. He played offensive tackle at Pitt. He actually blocked for future Heisman Trophy winner Tony Dorsett during Dorsett's freshman year. He was drafted by the Packers in 1974, but an injury put him on injured reserve, and he never actually played in the NFL. He went on to become a coach. He won a Super Bowl as a defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys back in 92, which then earned him the job of replacing the coach, Mike Ditka, in 1993. That's a hard act to follow. He coached the Bears from 93 to 98. They didn't do all that well. I remember those days very well. The Bears only made the playoffs once during his time with the Bears in those 6 years, and he was eventually let go in 1998. He did spend time coaching as head coach of the Dolphins and a defensive coordinator with the Bills as well. And another guy who I've seen him, not as much lately, but he's been on TV as an analyst as well. But I was very happy to get that as a kid. Getting his autograph was pretty fun. And then the Go Bears, always like that. All right, next up, this is not a TTM, but I went to a card show and there was an autograph signing, and Norm Dixon, who was a defensive back with BYU from 1986 to 1990 in my home state of Utah. This set of cards came out right here. And the Ty Detmer, he won the Heisman Trophy that year of 1990. And so it was nice to be able to meet Norm Dixon and get his auto there. And that'll lead me into this next one. I'm going to pull it out of the sleeve right here. So this is a 1991 set right here. Or team strip. And then right there, that's the Ty Detmer autograph. The year after his Heisman Trophy. So I was able to meet him, and I actually have the, there's been a lot of talk with autographs and authenticity and things of late, if you guys have been following that. So when I went to that, they had a notary there to officiate. So on the first day of February 1992 with Ty Detmer, and he was the one that I met. You'll see Jamie Martin was there as well, who ended up playing in the NFL, Anthony Davis. So anyway, the Ty Detmer right there with the authenticity. But it was always fun to get that, and knowing that he had won the Heisman Trophy and then getting to meet him was pretty exciting. Now, I was a big Notre Dame fan, and so I had been kind of hoping for the Rocket, Raheem Ishmael, to win that one. But it was exciting for the state and definitely for BYU fans, for Ty Detmer, who had a great year that year. In 1990, his junior year, he threw for almost 5,200 yards, 41 touchdowns in 12 games. They even upset the number one ranked Miami that year, and he broke 42 NCAA records. So he just had a great year. He played 14 years in the NFL, Eagles, Packers, 49ers, Browns, Lions. His best year was, I think, about 3,000 yards with the Eagles back in the mid-90s for one of those seasons. And then one other thing I wanted to show. So in my baby book, this ticket was in there, and it says Manuel Hendricks. This is Manny Hendricks. This is a University of Utah versus Utah State. I'm a big fan of both. My alma mater is Utah State. My dad went to Utah State, but then for graduate school, he went to Utah, and we lived, when I was a kid, just right next to the University of Utah Stadium. And so December 13th, 1983, obviously I was too young to remember that game, but apparently I was there because they put this in my baby book. It was a basketball game. However, Manny Hendricks, if you're a Cowboys fan, you may be familiar with him, but he played in the NFL. He was an undrafted free agent, never played a down of football in college, but he became a cornerback for the Cowboys. He played in 89 games over 1986 to 1991. So kind of cool to find that ticket stub and to remember him from his playing days in the NFL with Dallas. Okay, so for the last stack of TTMs, these are all 1993 classics. You'll see I have quite a few of these. So obviously in 1993, I must have written to a lot of the rookies because tons of them sent me these 93 Classic cards back. I did not send these out to them, so I'm guessing Classic had given them a stack, and they either signed a whole bunch for people who wrote in, or just had a whole bunch and then would sign them as autographs came in. So this first one is Lincoln Kennedy. He was the 9th pick of the first round. He had an 11-year career, 3-time Pro Bowler. He was an All-Pro one year, so just a great offensive lineman with the Falcons. The next one right here, another first rounder. This is Thomas Smith. He was picked near the end of the first round. If I remember right, I think it was Buffalo. Anyway, he had an 8-year career. He played in 2000 with the Bears. A really good coverage cornerback. He didn't get a lot of big-time stats, but he was known as being a really good coverage cornerback. Then this one right here is Terry Kirby. He was a 3rd-round pick, had a 10-year career, and he had almost 8,000 all-purpose yards. He played with the Dolphins, 49ers, Browns, and Raiders. Talented running back. Then you have Billy Joe Hobart. That is his rookie card right there, autographed. Billy Joe was a 3rd-round pick out of Washington. In '92, he won the Rose Bowl MVP. Played 9 years in the NFL, mostly as a backup. And then we have Tom Carter III from Notre Dame. 17th pick of the draft. He even played with my Bears for a little bit, but he was drafted by Washington. Also played with the Bengals. He had 27 career interceptions and returned 1 for a touchdown. Next up, we've got Qadri Ishmael. This is the brother of Rocket, and so his nickname was Missile, and I love that they've actually got it right here. He wrote it underneath, so he signed it and then put the missile right there. And so he was a great player himself. He had a couple years where he had over 1,000 yards receiving, and in his 10 years, he bounced around a lot. He started with the Vikings, but he played for the Dolphins, the Saints, the Ravens, and the Colts. But I was a big fan of his, just by way of his brother, even though he didn't go to Notre Dame. Really liked Qadri there. And then here's George Teague. He was also a first-round pick, like a lot of these guys. He went to Alabama, had a 9-year career with Green Bay, and then the Cowboys and Dolphins. He made the all-rookie team in 1993, and he had 15 interceptions, 450 tackles, a couple defensive touchdowns. And then this guy right here, this is Irv Smith Sr., another Notre Dame guy, another first-rounder. His brother Ed Smith was a tight end for the Falcons, and his son Irv Smith Jr. is in the NFL right now. He's a tight end also, and was drafted by the Vikings a few years ago. I think he's with the Bengals now, if I remember right, but Irv Smith, his best year was in '95, where he had 45 catches for almost 500 yards and 3 touchdowns. He had a really good year in '98 with the 49ers, where he had 5 touchdowns as well. And then this is Patrick Bates. He was also a first-round pick by the Raiders. He was a top 15 pick, if I remember right. He only spent 2 years with the Raiders, and then he went over to the Falcons for a year. But in his 3-year career, he only had 1 interception. He had some off-field problems, and he was considered kind of a disappointment for a top pick like that, unfortunately. Next up, if you were around in the 90s, you know about the Dallas Cowboys dynasty teams, and one player who was a part of that, this is Darren Smith. He was a 2nd-round pick out of Miami. Played 4 years with the Cowboys and won 2 Super Bowls with them. He was a '93 All-Rookie Team player, and he played for a dozen years in the NFL. He had 24 quarterback sacks, 11 interceptions, over 750 tackles. He had 4 defensive touchdowns. A really talented player for sure. And then this guy, Chicago Bear, Chris Gedney, I remember being really excited when he wrote back, just seeing him as a 3rd-round draft pick for the Bears after an All-American career at Syracuse. He played for Chicago for 3 years and then another 3 with the Cardinals, and he actually saw more playing time with the Cardinals than he did with the Bears, but was very, very excited when I got that one back. Unfortunately, he passed away back in 2018, but again, really happy to get that. Rest in peace, Chris Gedney. And then we'll wrap things up with a Hall of Famer right here. This is Willie Roaf. Most of you, if you were around watching football in the 90s, you remember him, and the 2000s. But he had a 13-year Hall of Fame career. He was a top 10 pick by the Saints. He also played with the Chiefs for a few years. He played in and started 189 games. He was an All-American at Louisiana Tech. And I looked up his stats just, as a Hall of Famer. He's part of the 90s All-Decade team, the 2000s All-Decade team, the Saints Hall of Fame, College Football Hall of Fame, Pro Football Hall of Fame. He also was an 11-time Pro Bowler and a 9-time All-Pro, and very deservedly made the Hall of Fame in the year 2012. So as you can see, that is a lot of classic autographs from these players here, and very happy to have those for my collection and my PC for TTM. So anyway, that is all for the TTM Blast from the Past, but I do want to show you one other thing. Okay, so I made a video the other day. I actually ordered a box of 1991 Proline. So there are autographs in Proline. It's an average of about 1 in 3 boxes has an auto, and it has a certification at the bottom and an autograph on the back. And no, this is not an auto, unfortunately. So I made the video. I opened the entire box, but I stated at the beginning of the video that I wasn't even going to post it unless I pulled an auto. And I did not pull an auto. But the very first card I opened was this, and I kind of joked that maybe that was a good sign. In the same pack, I had a Walter Payton, which was really nice. In that box, I'll just show a few of the highlight cards. So these cards are quite cheap. Gale Sayers, a couple Neil Andersons. The boxes, I mean, you can buy them for $30 to $40. And the whole idea is that you're hoping that you're going to get James Brooks. Woo! You're hoping you're going to get James Brooks. Ed McCaffrey rookie and Herman Moore rookies as well. But you're kind of hoping, and then they had player wives as well, like Joe Montana's wife, John Elway's wife, Felicia Rashad. But you're hoping to get those autographs. That's really what it's all about. And I have actually opened now 3 boxes of 1991 Proline since I started my channel. But unfortunately, I have not pulled an auto from those. I did pull an auto of Tom Waddle in the 92 boxes, which I think are an average of 1 per box. But in 91, I'm 0 for 3. I did post one of those videos a long time back, but the last 2 I have not posted because I did not get an auto. A couple Bill Belichick rookie cards there. So I just kind of show you a little bit as a highlight of just, some of the nice cards there. But these are, they're boom era, shout out John Mangini, boom era cards. So you're not expected really to get much value in that, except for the autographs. I mean, you can pull a Walter Payton. You can get a lot of really good ones in there. But anyway, I did not pull any, but I am going to go for it again at some point. I don't know when, but I will definitely buy another box. I think I'll just randomly keep getting a box of those and opening them until I finally do pull an auto. And then that video I will post. But anyway, thanks everybody for watching. I really appreciate it. And as always, go Bears.